We are super excited. Thursday night, this gig is coming to Dubai. We've never seen them before, so getting to see them live is incredible. Deep Purple, Coca-Cola Arena. You can get your tickets for right now. But I can't believe we get to speak to the lead vocalist from the band Deep Purple. Ian Gillan is with us live. Ian, how are you?
Top of the world. Thank you very much.
Top of the world.
Great.
Touring for almost 60 years, right? 50, 60 years. And you've had shows all over the globe. What show, one or two, stand out in your memory that you'd like to either relive or forget, and why?
Oh, there's so many special ones. I think probably my first show with Deep Purple at the Speakeasy in London was just monumental. It was just a milestone in my career. Roger Glover and I joined at the same time, and we just looked at each other during the show. Wow, this is it. This is what we've been dreaming of. Another that comes to mind is Reading Festival with my own band back in the around about 1981, 82. That was spectacular. Most of the shows on the Black Sabbath tour were unbelievable. It was the longest party I've ever been to, lasted a year. And I've just come from Tbilisi in Georgia, where I got married in 1990. And we had the Georgian State Singers on stage. It was just at the end of the Soviet Union, but they were still forbidden to sing the national anthem. And I asked them what they'd like to sing, and they said, we'd like to do that, but it's forbidden. I said, okay, well, we'll do it. And we did that on the encore, and it raised the roof. I mean, I think they're still rebuilding the building. It was amazing, emotional release for the audience who had not been allowed to express their feelings for their own country in public for so long. So that was a special thing. But it's endless. It's endless. I mean, it's such a special, privileged life that I lead.
Look, there's been many different guises and Deep Purple, I guess. It's changed lineup over the years. It's changed
a little bit, yeah.
A little bit of lineup change.
Yeah.
But Deep Purple songs stand out. There's something different. But for you, what is it that you feel from a Deep Purple song? What makes it different?
It's a holistic thing, really. It's not just the songs, it's the musicians, it's the music. I'll give you an example. When I was a kid, I grew up in West London, and one of my heroes, local heroes, was a guy called Cliff Bennett. He had 2 big hit records and a fantastic band called the Rebel Rousers. And I used to go and watch them as a semi-pro. And I'd sit and think, well, I'd love to be where he was standing, right in the middle of this amazing band. And years later, I got the privilege of doing that with Deep Purple. So the music itself and the whole experience of being part of it is everything. But the band, as you say, has changed a little bit. We've had 2 member changes, one when Richie Blackmore left and was replaced by Steve Morse, who's now replaced by Simon McBride, who's just, I mean, blowing us all over the place. It's amazing. And Don Airey, who's been with us for nearly a quarter of a century now. So it's fairly stable, but, you know, things do change in life. I think, you know, the anthem songs from the 70s are very important. The audience relates to those a lot, but we had to rebuild over the years, as you do. And we're not a fashionable band. We've pretty much stuck to our own ways of evolution, like most people do in life, and so we've rebuilt, and we've got another kind of audience now, as well as the older guys who've been with us all these years. So some of the new stuff is very challenging, and it's also strangely similar to what we were doing in the 70s. The last 2 or 3 albums we've had a kind of complete rejuvenation, and it's really exciting because they match up so much, and yet one of them is contemporary and one is historical.
You know what I love about seeing, I've never watched you perform live in person, but obviously seen some of your stuff online. And what I love about watching those videos is that there's never 2 versions of, say, Smoke on the Water that are identical. And I feel like I could watch you a week in a row and I would get a different experience every single night. So what makes that for you? You go out on stage, is it something that you've decided beforehand, I'm going to do a more laid back version of Smoke on the Water this time, or you know, give it more oomph this time? Is it something that you just decide on the spot, feeling the crowd?
Not really. It's I mean, if you're in conversation, you're recalling an anecdote, you're talking to people in the bar or in a restaurant or at work. Yeah. In the family, and you're telling a story you've told a few times. There are slight nuances, slight different changes. It's the same with the music. I remember very clearly talking to Pavarotti. I worked with him a couple of times, and he said how jealous he was of me because he'd seen us play Smoke on the Water about 6 times, and every time was slightly different, as you say. And he said, I cannot do this. He said, if I changed one scintilla of anything from my original interpretation, emotionally, technically, if I changed one tiny atomic moment in the performance of any of my famous arias, that they would crucify me, the critics and the audience. And that's the world of opera, which he was quite frustrated with, and I think he tried to bring some life and joy and contemporary feelings into it. But we're lucky because we can do what we want, and everything you do in life pretty much is controlled by your ambience, by what's going on around you. And you may be the same person you think every day, and you wake up and go to bed every day, but you're really affected by human chemistry, and everything you do or think is slightly touched by those surrounding you and you're involved with, either for good or bad. But that's the magic of humanity. It's incredible, and it manifests itself mostly in music, I think, more visibly in music anyway. So that was a good point and a good question. Thank you.
Yes, you have something that is very few bands or musicians have, that privilege whereby you have the legendary status, along with, you're the unholy trinity, along with Black Sabbath and Led Zeppelin and there's Deep Purple. So you have that accolade. There seems to be no sign of slowing down. We just saw the Black Sabbath tour, and then sadly we lost Ozzy Osbourne. But for you guys, is there an end in sight? Have you in your mind said, I'm going to finish up in this year, I'm going to call it a day in this time, or eventually I'd like to just take a little back seat, or are you just going to keep on rocking?
Well, no one's really thought it through. We don't talk about it that much, and as life gets on, the end is nearer than the beginning. That's for sure. We all know that. But at the moment, we're getting a lot of joy from what we're doing. I think the band is rejuvenated since Simon joined us, and so we're looking a long way ahead. And you don't make long-term plans if you're thinking of stopping. So we'll see what the future holds. I think probably, human dignity is going to be the deciding factor. If once you start going out and embarrassing people with your inability to do what you've done all your life, then it's time to stop. But until that moment arrives, then we're going good. And the band is hard and mean and hungry at the moment. I've never felt it so tight.
Now, with regards to Smoke on the Water, if I get the chance to sit down with you, I'm going to have to ask for an insight behind the scenes. I know that when you guys were recording that song, there was a building that burnt down. You're in the middle of recording that song. You try to get something recorded, and then you had to move.
That's nearly right.
Right, nearly right. So I would like to know, what do fans not know about that moment when you guys were recording that song?
It's all been written, but then it's been paraphrased and changed over the years. But basically, the truth of it was we were going to record in a studio in Montreux in Switzerland, and the studio was in a casino, in the basement of a casino. And the casino, we were going to use the hall, the performance of the hall, with a mobile studio, the Rolling Stones mobile truck. And the last performance, Montreux is a summer resort in Switzerland as opposed to a winter resort. And the last performance of the season, I think it was in early November of 70 or 71 on 71. We went along to watch Frank Zappa and the Mothers of Invention. I was particularly keen to see Flo and Eddie, the Turtles, who were doing the backing vocals that night. And halfway through fairly early in the performance, somebody came up right behind over my right shoulder and shot a flare gun into the ceiling. Wooden building, it went into the electric trunking, and pretty soon the place caught on fire. And it was quite amazing that everyone got out without too much, without any loss of life and without any serious injuries. So we were evacuated to a hotel along the lakeside, and Roger denies it, but I remember him. But then we'd had a drink or two, so who knows? But Roger, I think, wrote Smoke on the Water as we watched the wind from the mountains blowing the flames and the smoke across Lake Geneva, and that's where the title came from. We then looked for someone else to record, and at the end, on the last day, our engineer said, we're 7 minutes short of an album. And in those days, it had to be 38 minutes for technical reasons. And so we had done a sound check that was the famous Dan Dan song that we called it. And so we dug that out and wrote a biographical lyric about the making of the record, of the album in Montreux. So that's it from start to finish, pretty much, in reality, what happened.
And again, taken on from that, you read some stuff and you're never sure entirely what's behind it. We could have been going along to a roundabout gig in Coca-Cola Arena. That was initially the band's name. And then there was a trip, was this a trip to Denmark, I think, that took place? And then there was a change in the band name and became Deep Purple. Again, how much of that is true? What's the real story behind that?
Well, I think that was true. It's all part of the evolution. That's before the band really settled down. It was called Roundabout when Chris Curtis from the Searchers was in the band with Richie and John Lord. They recruited Ian Pace, I think, at the same time. And I'm not even sure exactly when it changed, but it was 3 albums before I joined in 1969, and we made Deep Purple in rock, and the whole style of the band changed quite a lot. Roger Glover and I joined not just as a bass player and singer, but as a kind of a songwriting team. We'd already been writing for a while.
Well, Ian, I have to thank you so much for being so generous with your answers and your time with us. I could talk to you for hours, I really could, and we cannot wait for the gig on Thursday night. For me, it's going to be a bucket list concert to go to. I cannot wait. Can I just ask, Perfect Strangers and Lazy, are they on the set list?
Well, Lazy is.
Yeah, all right. maybe Perfect Strangers Encore, I don't know, if I could plant the seed. Well, we cannot
You can't
wait.
do everything, you know, they were all new songs once, and we had to have a balanced set, and it's evolved, and we're very happy with the set right now. It's full of energy and excitement.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it. See you Thursday night.
Thank you. Great pleasure.
Dubai 92.